Are you ready to stop shrinking to fit into someone else's version of success? Welcome to Illuminate Your Worth, the podcast that helps you remember who you are and reclaim your life. Hosted by transformation facilitator Heather Stewart, this is your space for soulful conversations, coaching insights, and reminders that you're not here to settle. You're here to shine. Now let's dive in.
Hello. I don't know what it's like where you are, but I'm looking at my window. It's snowing. Snow. It's not a snowmageddon, it's just regular snow. And it actually makes the world look quite lovely, doesn't it? You know, it's so clean and white and it makes the sounds muted. I really enjoy winter, I have to say. True Canadian. Gotta enjoy winter. I am Heather, by the way, and this is Illuminate Your Worth podcast, and we are on the Inspired Choices Network. And today we're talking about it's called knowing versus living, because I thought if I put knowing versus knowing, it wouldn't make any sense. So we're going to talk about knowing something with your brain versus knowing it as a lived experience. And speaking of snow, I just saw a headline go by on like the weather station or something that a man in his 60s who grew up in Jamaica was in Canada and had experienced snow for the first time, and the look on his face was priceless. Like, what is this stuff falling from the sky that's cold? Why is it so cold here? And that's very interesting. Like, you can read about snow, you can read all the chemical properties, you can read all the descriptions, you can understand everything there is to understand about snow. But until you're standing in it, or feel it on your skin, or experience it like firsthand, it's just a concept, isn't it? It's just a thought. It is just a thought. Thoughts are super powerful. Thoughts are things. Thoughts turn into things. I'm not saying you should stop thinking, but living your life is the best way to get the most out of your life. And if you are an overthinker, perhaps this episode was designed for you, right? All of us, and I'm guilty of this 100%. I will put my hand up to this. I have sat and thought about things and never done them. And I did that for a lot of the beginning of my adult life. When I was a kid, I think I just went and did things. I'll have to think about that. But when I became into the official adulthood, I don't know when people officially enter adulthood anymore, emerging adults and all that stuff. But when I became the official, like I left home at 18, adult, was I 18? I think I was 18. And didn't ever move home again, really. I went off to university, and you can understand intellectually a lot of things. I understood what it was to leave home. I understood, that I'm going to go live somewhere else. I'm going to do this, and it all sounds very exciting. And then when you get thrown into it, you're like, oh, Jesus. This isn't what I was expecting, or this is way better than I was expecting, or this is way worse than I was expecting. And all of that is good. Oh my gosh, so good, because you come back with this lived experience of it that will color your life going forward. And oh my goodness, there's so many layers into this that are just cramming into my brain right now, my friend, that I'm going to take a moment to try and pick them apart. So your logical brain, I love my logical brain. Oh my gosh, it is so useful. It does so much for me. And it loves planning, it loves analyzing, it loves forecasting, it loves protecting me in case, it's like, well, Heather, if you step out onto this busy street, you could get hit by a car. I'm like, oh, you're right. I should probably check for traffic. It likes to figure things out, which is super useful. And if you are someone who is an overthinker, by the way, that's the power. You don't have to feel bad about it. You don't have to give yourself a hard time about it. This isn't a bad thing. Being a thinker isn't a bad thing. But staying there, I think, is what's going to what keeps people stuck, because they don't step out of a thinking into a doing. And it's in the doing of something that you learn. And yeah, thinking is like crack for me. You can see my brain, right? You might see the smoke coming out of my ears sometimes. My brain, I can remember as a little kid, I was sitting on the side of my bed and I was thinking, I didn't realize this until I came out of it, but um, I was thinking about something very intensely. And then something distracted me, and I was like, where did that thought go? It was so good. Like I felt like I had somehow missed, like I had stopped eating some delicious dish or something, and I was so lit up by whatever that was that I was thinking about. And who knows how long I'd been sitting there, because when I get into that thinking, and it's almost like a trance state, right? It was so good. Love, and I still remember that, like, I don't know, I was probably like a long time ago. I was probably like 13 or something at the time, which was quite a while ago, even though I still remember it. So our logical brain, yeah, it's an amazing tool. It really helps us. But sometimes it's trying to protect us to the point where it doesn't let us go out and do the actual experiment to see what happens. And there's an episode coming up at the end of the month with a medicine woman that I know, Carrie Hummingbird, and she said something so interesting that kind of blew my mind. And I think part of what keeps us in our thinking mode is this fear of doing something wrong. And she was so right. Like when she said it, I'm like, oh my gosh, you're right. She said that uh, in North America, or in the Western culture, mistakes and errors, because we're very much in we expect punishment. Like think about, you know, even Santa Claus. If you're bad, you don't get any toys. If you're a bad human, you go to hell. Like we have a very punish-oriented culture. If you do something wrong, you're going to be punished. And um, so we have this kind of built in our subconscious, and it hadn't occurred to me before. And it's relevant to the trauma versus traumatized episode I did a while ago. It's like we because we fear punishment, we don't want to make a mistake, even though we know making mistakes is part of growing up, it's part of learning, it's part of experiencing, it's part of figuring things out. But we have this kind of subconscious fear of being punished, so we don't step out of the thinking into the doing, and then we don't get our experience, and then we don't get to learn, and we don't get to change to something. Oh, that didn't work. Hmm. Okay. Well, I'll adjust this and see if that works. And then I'll adjust this and see if that works. And eventually you build up this huge library of experiences. Some worked, some didn't work, some kind of worked, but they were all fascinating. And that is what feeds a really rich life, right? So it's so interesting that I was just saying to Dana, my angel in the background today is Dana, before we came on, that I just came back from a 10-day silent retreat where you enter into silence on Wednesday evening when you arrive, and you promise to stay in, they call it noble silence. You're staying in noble silence from Wednesday evening until Saturday afternoon the following week. So I think it's like 9.5 days or something. And the program is set up so that you, believe it or not, for people who know me, the gong goes off at 4 a.m. to wake you up. What? Who made this schedule? Why are you doing this to me? Did I sign up for this? I did sign up for this because I wanted the experience, because I wanted to see what would happen. So I didn't get up until 4:15 because I just couldn't. I lay there going, it's dark outside. You want me to do what? And meditation would start at 4:30 in the morning. And I mean, there were various breaks and meals and obviously things through the day. And we were in bed by 9 o'clock. Thank goodness. We were in bed by 9 o'clock. I was usually in bed by 9:05. But we were meditating like 9 to 10, 11 hours a day. And you spend a lot of time quiet, not talking to anyone, not interacting, not even really eye contact because you're trying to stay internal. And the teachings of the program that I was in come from direct from the Buddha, and it's without the isms. It's without the isms. So there's no rites, there's no rituals, there's zero religion. There's zero religion. When the Buddha first started teaching, and for a long time, there was zero religion involved in the practices that the Buddha was teaching, by the way, for people who don't know the history. I feel like he sat under, he used his thinking mind, but he also, while he was sitting there, was gaining the experience. So he sat under the Bodhi tree, and he had done a lot of different practices with the rites and the rituals and all of the things to try and learn how to end end unhappiness. This general melancholy that humans can have, or this feeling like something's missing or something's wrong, and or we're broken and things aren't working properly. So he decided, very determined person, he decided to sit under the Bodhi tree until he figured it out. And the story, his name was Gautama, by the way. He was a prince. But he had left his, I should do a whole podcast on the story of the Buddha at some point. But he had left his princely home to go and find, the meaning behind life, I think. And I feel like when he sat under that tree, like we've got quantum physics now, when he sat there experiencing, he was trying, what the technique he was using was keeping you present in the present moment, using the sensations of the body. Stay in the present moment no matter what's going on. It might feel nice, might not feel nice, but just as you watch it, it rises and falls and rises and falls, comes and goes. Everything is impermanent. The impermanence episode. And he somehow got to the point where he realized that everything was just like little wavelets of energy. Even though we know that nothing is actually solid, it's just how fast the energy is moving. And quantum physics, like this was like 2,500 years ago, and he somehow determined quantum physics just by sitting there and thinking, but he paired it with the experience behind it. And I won't go into the whole practice. If you want to know about the practice, send me an email and I'll go into it deeper. But he realized that we are all just these little energy bubbles, and they're always coming in and out and coming out. Like, think how many times your cells turn over in an hour. Trillions and trillions. Like, it's mind blowing. So he had figured all of this out, and he was teaching this how to be present with what's going on and be okay. Just stay in this calm, neutral place, basically. It's like, yes, this feels really good, but I'm not going to let it suck me away into this spiral of I want more good, more good, more good, more good. Or this feels really bad. My shoulder was killing me one day. At one point, I'm like, oh, my shoulder is hurting. But it was just like, just stay there and watch it. And when you sit, I think this is where John Kabat-Zinn's full catastrophe living might have evolved from. When you watch the pain, it's not just like pain constantly. It's like it moves. Sometimes it climbs around in your body, like it's moving around. And that's all to make you present to what's really going on. And there was commentary by the teacher, Goenka, about how you can read all about science and how the body works and how pain works and how pleasure works, and you can understand the chemical processes and you can understand everything. But until you get the experience of sitting and being fully present and aware and watching sensations rise and fall and watching your craving for more of this and your aversions because I don't want that one, that sore shoulder. Get up. Instead of trying to push things away or chase after things, it's like this is why it became called the middle path. Can you just stay there and be chill and not chase or run away? Just be present. Doesn't mean you don't change things for the better. Because when you're in the present, when you're fully present to what is, you're like, oh, this is what's really happening right now. Okay, this is cool. I think I would like it to be something else. And then you can take some action. We're going to talk more about this in a moment. Now that you've had your Buddha historical lesson, we're going to go on to our first break. While we're on our first break, why not pop over to your favorite listening platform and give us a 5-star review? I would massively, hugely appreciate that, my friend. This is Heather. We're on the Inspired Choices Network. We're talking knowing it versus living it. And we will be right back. I'll see you in a minute.
What if your too much was actually your superpower? On Illuminate Your Worth, Heather Stewart guides you back to your truth with coaching, mindset shifts, and powerful conversations designed to light up every corner of your life, from career and creativity to wellness and worth. Tune in weekly and discover how to stop surviving and start thriving on your own terms. Listen to Illuminate Your Worth with Heather Stewart on the Inspired Choices Network and wherever you get your podcasts.
Are you a subject matter expert? Are you here to share your expertise with an audience waiting to hear from you in only the way you can deliver? Are you ready to have your voice amplified across the airwaves? Inspired Choices Network has a global radio platform streaming to millions of people across the world. Professionally produced and supported by an accomplished team every step of the way, you can broadcast from anywhere in the world, knowing your voice matters, and we ensure it is delivered with ease and efficiency. Eager to hear your message, the world awaits. Contact us today to become an Inspired Choices Network radio host. Email become a host at inspiredchoicesnetwork.com.
You're listening to Illuminate Your Worth with Heather Stewart. Want to connect live during the show? Join the studio audience in the chat room at inspiredchoicesnetwork.com. You can also send questions or coaching requests to info@heatherstewart.coach. Let's get back to today's episode and your path to a thriving life.
Thrive, thrive, thrive. By the way, friends, look, my book is out. Illuminate. People have been saying, Heather, I can't see the title. Illuminate Your Worth, obviously, because that's what I am all about. Stop pretending you're okay. Start living like you mean it. And I want to invite you to the launch party. It's going to be on Zoom, January the 29th, which is a Thursday, at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. And if you want to, because people have been saying, Heather, where do I find the book? Heather, how do I make sure that I don't miss the launch party? Go to my website, heatherstewart.coach. The first thing that's going to pop up is the book launch, and you can just sign up to get a reminder to come to the party. Come to the party, and on that day, there'll be a super special price for the ebook. $3. $3 to change your life, my friend. Welcome back. Because you can have all the books in the world, but you got to start living it, right? So this is what we're talking about. We're talking about the logical brain thinking about things versus the lived wisdom of what your body has felt, your heart, your spirit, because you've been through things. And this is my conditioning. When I said I've been through something, it sounds like you've had to endure something. Oh my God, it was so hard. It was so terrible. But no, not everything in life has to be that. The good things, the bad things, all the alls, right? Yay. Let's live our life. So when you so think about like not giving yourself a hard time at all. Some of my favorite people in the world are overthinkers. But as you're listening, like during this episode, you can think about where are you not taking an action? Where are you watching from the side, life from the sidelines, instead of stepping onto the field and having some fun? Even when things go wrong, as we would define them, that's still part of the fun, right? So we have all these social media stuff where we watch other people doing stuff constantly. I mean, if you watch me in the evening, I will spend like 15, 20 minutes scrolling through. And of course, the algorithm knows me really well. It scrolls cat videos, gorillas doing silly things, and I'm killing myself laughing with tears streaming down my face because I can imagine what that's like, whatever's going on, but I haven't lived it. So are you spending all your time cheering other people's lives on social media instead of living your own? And there's no shoulding. We're not going to should all over ourselves, but we're going to think about where we would like to live more. So what is it to be on the sidelines of life, right? Let's think about that. So are you and this doesn't have to be all decisions, but are there things in your life where you have to overthink every single move? You have to have everything figured out and laid out and 100%, figured out before you do anything. And that's an interesting tactic, to have everything figured out, because it's also an impossibility. You can never, ever know 100% the way things are going to play out. You can plan for a few things here and there, like I check the weather. It's going to rain. I'll bring my umbrella. But I can't plan for, it's actually going to rain enough that there's a flood today. Okay. Or I brought my umbrella and that's great, but I didn't realize that there was going to be this much wind and the umbrella's not working. So we can we can plan for things, but we can't control all of the circumstances of everything. So if you're overthinking every single move, think about maybe dialing that back just a little to the point where you are safe and you've got enough information, and then take a step out and see what happens. So another way that you're playing from the sidelines might be maybe you're delaying decisions to the point where once you make your decision, it's too late. I used to do that all the time. Oh my goodness. And this was when I first started my business as a coach, and it probably had to do, I know I had some imposter syndrome in the beginning. It's pretty prevalent in the early beginnings of coaching, when you first start, because you're thinking, oh my goodness, really? Why would someone want to talk to me? That's such a normal reaction. But I can remember, I would get an email and I would think about, okay, how am I going to answer this and make it sound this way or that way? And by the time I responded to that person, it was too late. They'd moved on. Because if you think about how life flows these days, people want that instant gratification, that instant response. And if you are delaying making a decision, the train's left the station already. You're like, should I take the A train or the B train? And they both left and you're still on the platform, right? So another way this can show up is lots of research. Listen to podcasts. Don't stop listening to podcasts, by the way. Taking course after course after course after course to make sure you're fully ready before you do something. So imagine if people overthought having babies. A lot of us might never have been born. Because what parent feels ready to have children? There's no courses. Well, there are courses to take. But until you have a child, you can take all the courses in the world. Once you have a child, you're like, oh my God, they didn't tell me this would happen, or that this would be so good, or that this would be so bad, or that I would feel this, or I would feel, and everybody's who is a parent, their experiences are same but different, like very similar but very different. I remember I had a friend who they had a child. It was their first child, and I think their child was about 4 when we were having this conversation, and she said she would never have another child because the responsibility that she felt for this life was so overwhelming for her that caused her so much stress. She was an overthinker, right? She needed to make sure this child was 100% like insulated, cared for, clean, dry, fed, happy. Like everything poured into this person to try to make this little person to try to make their life perfect, which is also an impossibility. Well, actually, no, it's not impossible. My life is perfect. It's just that we evaluate versus good versus bad. I'm like, the bad is perfect too. It's a perfect lesson. The bad is a perfect lesson. The good is a perfect lesson. So think about, and where other people will just like, yeah, I've got this kid. And I think of my niece. She now has 4 children. And she doesn't have time to, think about this child's life has to be this. She's just looking after these little babies, right? So there's no guarantee in life. Well, there's no guarantees in life. Death and taxes, I hear, are the guarantees. But I'm sure there's people who are avoiding taxes out there. So death is your only guarantee. You have no guarantees on how this is going to play out. The only way to see is to move, is to do something, right? So get into motion. Messy is perfect. Messy is perfect. Imperfect is perfect. Not fully thought through is perfect. I was in a meeting last night with my fabulous female mastermind women's group, Women's Manifesting Network. And no, woo manifesting, like something like that. Anyway, and my good friend Judith is starting a Toronto chapter of Fem City, a networking group. And she was listing, I need to make sure I do this and this and this and this. And we're like, how about we just trust some of that stuff will take care of itself, and you just do the things you need to do so you don't freak yourself out, right? So what do you really need to know to start moving? And then build it as you grow, build it as you learn, shift it as you learn. If you read all about brain surgery and you read every single book, that wouldn't be the same experience as performing brain surgery, would it? Or even driving a car. This is funny, I knew everything about how to drive a standard transmission car, if people still remember what those are. And I had watched people do it. I had the early YouTube. I just sat next to my boyfriend and watched him drive and watched what happened. And I was there when he was learning to drive. And, so I knew the concept of how to drive a standard. But when I went to actually drive one, I was like, oh, holy moly. This is, you got to pay attention to what's going on here. But I learned. I still drive a standard transmission quite well, I think, personal opinion. So when we get this knocked about of, we get to go through the messy bits when we get the experiences. We get to get knocked out around a little bit. We might get criticized. We might get rejected. We might fail at something. We might feel weird and awkward sometimes. But you also get to experience joy. You get to experience real connection with people. You get unexpected opportunities or ideas that come to you because you did something. You're like, oh, you know what? That reminds me of this. And then I could put that with that. And wow. And it just expands a whole new way for you to experience life that you can't experience if you stay in the thinking part of life, right? If you stay in the thinking part of life, you don't get the good or the bad. You just get to imagine them, which just is not a life really lived. This is how I feel. Is the bad parts, the things we call bad parts. And if you've listened to me, that I don't think any of them are bad. They're just lessons. The stroke, the breaking my wrist, the things that happen, they're just interesting and they add to the richness of your life. And when you come out the other side, you got a good story to tell. So we're going to go on to our next break. Not to worry, I still have more thoughts on this. I have still more things to share. If you didn't get a chance to give us our review, if you can pop over there now. If you did, you can go and sign up to get notified of the book launch. And I am Heather. This is Illuminate Your Worth on the Inspired Choices Network. We will be right back.
What if your too much was actually your superpower? On Illuminate Your Worth, Heather Stewart guides you back to your truth with coaching, mindset shifts, and powerful conversations designed to light up every corner of your life, from career and creativity to wellness and worth. Tune in weekly and discover how to stop surviving and start thriving on your own terms. Listen to Illuminate Your Worth with Heather Stewart on the Inspired Choices Network and wherever you get your podcasts.
How wonderful would it be to carry your favorite Inspired Choices Network host with you throughout your day? Well, now you can. Inspired Choices Network now has its very own mobile app. Our free app offers live streaming shows, along with thousands of podcasts and TV episodes. Our shows cover a wide variety of topics. Whether you're waking up with us, carrying us through the day, and taking us to bed with you, we're always here for you to enjoy. We're easy to find. Just search for Inspired Choices Network in the Apple App Store or Google Play Store.
You're listening to Illuminate Your Worth with Heather Stewart. Want to connect live during the show? Join the studio audience in the chat room at inspiredchoicesnetwork.com. You can also send questions or coaching requests to info@heatherstewart.coach. Let's get back to today's episode and your path to a thriving life.
You really should pop over here and to the chat room at some point and say hi to Dana and say hi to me in the chat room. We love having visitors. So, yes, our thinking brains. We love thinking. This. I don't know. It's part of the way we're built, isn't it? And the logical brain is important, right? It is important, but it wants certainty, control, and predictability. It's really good at checklists, which are very helpful, by the way. When I was in massage school, one of my good friends is very organized and very logical, and her checklists probably helped me graduate, because sometimes I'm a bit of a fly by the seat of the pants person. It likes the step-by-steps, it likes the pros and cons, it likes the 5-year plans, and it really thinks it's keeping you safe by having everything figured out. That's what everything that you do, all of your habits, everything you do, whether you would identify them as positive or negative, they're all designed because you have developed in a way that's what you think is safe and or happy or helpful for you. And when I have a cup of tea in the evening, I really want a piece of chocolate, and I've wired myself to say, okay, it's evening time, hot tea, that requires chocolate, even though sometimes I'm like, no chocolate today. I've had enough. No, I really want that piece of chocolate. It means I have to rewire myself a little bit, or not. What's the big deal? But it is hijacking you. So the logical brain and these habits are hijacking you. It's trying to protect you, but it's hijacking you because you are saying things like, once I understand this fully, then I'll move. Or when I'm less busy or less tired, then I will start doing something. Or after I've completely healed from whatever, I will be ready. But then it never happens. It's like the tomorrow that never comes, right? It convinces you that the preparation that you're doing is progress. And preparation can be important, but preparation isn't progress. Preparation is just circling circling what you want to get done, circling over this. I'm going to go and do that thing. There's my target down there, but you never land. You never land the plane, right? So it's trying to protect you from pain. So that's the logic of it. And it's trying to, if you have wisdom, so the logical brain is trying to protect you from pain. Wisdom, which is from experience, is going to guide you through life, the joy and the pain, so that you're who you become who you meant to be. And that's why I circle back to this 10 days that I just spent. The joy, the pain, the sensations I liked, the sensations I didn't like. I just kind of just stayed there to have the full experience of it. Full catastrophe living. It's like I'm not feeling like I want to have this experience a lot, but I'm going to pay attention to it and see what happens, right? And the logical part of your brain, the thinking part of your brain, is knowing information. Information. The living it, the living and doing the thing gives you this lived wisdom, which allows for transformation. Information only helps you take a step, should be used to help you take a step in a direction, but it's the doing and the living it that will create the transformation, if that makes sense. So you can know everything about, let's say, swimming. You can read books, you can watch YouTube videos, you can know all there is to know about swimming. And then you get into the water and you're like, hold on a second. This is not well explained in the books on how this works. But you eventually learn to swim, right? I can remember swimming lessons. I think they give these lessons, like swimming lessons and riding a bike, to little kids, because little kids don't say, their logical brain hasn't developed to the point where it's like, hey, I might not like this. They just say, okay, let me try. So use your list. Here, make a little list. So if for knowing versus living. So you can slow down and you can go and re-listen to this episode later if you want. Take a few notes, So if you think about each of these things that I'm just going to talk about, we're going to think about what the experience is, and we're going to think about what the logical brain would think versus what the lived wisdom of it is. So think about love. So super deep love. So the logical brain might say, to protect you, might say, if I never really open up all the way, then I can't be hurt. And a lot of us will cut ourselves off to that, right? Because, and you may have had relationships where I can remember a brother-in-law, that I had at one point. His wife was divorcing him because he was emotionally unavailable. If I never open up, I can't be fully hurt. But if you have the lived wisdom of going through various relationships, which I know the first ones are the, that what's 70s, the first cut is the deepest. You learn about what attachment is. You learn about, if you go through these relationships and let yourself be open, you learn about vulnerability, and you learn about intimacy and being seen, giving and receiving. And some of these things like rejection, you might be, I don't want that to happen again. But if you never take a chance, you never get to feel the full amazing depth of what love can be, right? And having been through several relationships myself, I can say when you find it, it's worth it. It's worth the ride. It's worth the ride, my friends. Trust. So where are you holding this love that's waiting for you away from yourself so that you don't get hurt. And what's that costing you? You know? And I know I say all the time, you need to love yourself deeply, but connection and intimacy is a part of being human. And it's amazing when it's fully blossomed. So, and everything that you do in your life has a cost or a benefit, and a perceived benefit, because that's why you do it. So what is your perceived benefit from keeping people at arm's length is won't get hurt. What's the actual benefit? And what's the actual cost when you look at it in reality? When you look at it like the reality of the situation, not the imagined situation. So think about friendship. Your logical brain will say, what if they don't like me? So I will wait until people invite me into the circle, or until it feels perfect, until it feels like they're the perfect friend. Where I have a friend who'll talk to anybody. She has no problem. She'll knock on doors and say hello. She initiates conversations. And having friendships and being open and honest in your friendships, sometimes they end, and that's okay. Sometimes you have to let friends go, because that it's run its course. It helps you navigate conflict by having these experiences of being open to finding friends and being friends. So is there a friendship that you're craving to have more connection with, but you're not doing anything about it because it's awkward? You're afraid of being awkward or rejected. That doesn't mean you go say, oh, you're my best friend forever, we have to do everything together. It's just like being more open and vulnerable. Brene Brown is one of those authors who, if you haven't checked her TED Talk, check her TED Talk on vulnerability. She really didn't want that to be what the answer was for how to be a happy, healthy human, vulnerability. But because she was a thinker, she was a logic person, she was a researcher, and all of her research kept telling her that, and she really didn't want that to be the answer. But it allows you to have that full experience of life. And think about, I was saying the only guarantee in life is death. So loss, birth, you're born, you die. And sometimes we think, well, if I don't get attached to this or that, or this person or that person, then it won't hurt as much. But remember, everything is impermanent. Everything, even you're impermanent. Be grateful for whatever you have with a person. Even I can remember, because I've had a lot of cats over my life. Oh my God, heart-wrenching when your cat goes to another dimensional plane, right? It's like, oh, my kitty. But be grateful for the time you spent with them. Be present for when you are with them and what matters. Then there's cycles in life, and we can be sad, but we don't have to. It just feeds our richness of life. I'm going to keep coming to the back to that richness of life. Oh my goodness, right? Life is so fabulous, winning and losing. Some people don't want to try because they're afraid they're going to lose, and they only play games they can win. How does that teach you confidence? How does that teach you what you don't want to do and what you do want to do? How does that teach you joy? If you ever read Rumi talks a lot about you have to have darkness and light. You need the sadness and the joy. You need both sides of the coin so that you understand. There's a line in one of them that's like something like, when joy is sitting at the table, sadness is sleeping in the bedroom, because he knows that it's a flip side. We live through a contrast. That's the only way we can experience things. The only way we understand what light is because we know what dark is, right? The only way we understand what cold is because we know what warm is. So you need the flip side, experience all the aspects, the full awesomeness of life, experience it all. That's where wisdom is going to come from. That's why old people are so wise. I didn't know this until I was old. Actually, I still don't consider myself old, but the older that I get, the more wisdom I realize the older people in my life have had. And even though I'm looking at the picture of my grandfather, even though he's not on the planet currently, um, I can think back to the wisdom he imparted me because I decided to keep that tucked away somewhere in my brain, right? So, and he got it from his years and years and years of living and doing and experiencing. We're going to go out on our last break. Not to worry, we're going to come to some kind of fabulous conclusion, my friend. Don't go away. I will see you in just a moment.
What if your too much was actually your superpower? On Illuminate Your Worth, Heather Stewart guides you back to your truth with coaching, mindset shifts, and powerful conversations designed to light up every corner of your life, from career and creativity to wellness and worth. Tune in weekly and discover how to stop surviving and start thriving on your own terms. Listen to Illuminate Your Worth with Heather Stewart on the Inspired Choices Network and wherever you get your podcasts. You're listening to Illuminate Your Worth with Heather Stewart. Want to connect live during the show? Join the studio audience in the chat room at inspiredchoicesnetwork.com. You can also send questions or coaching requests to info@heatherstewart.coach. Let's get back to today's episode and your path to a thriving life.
So thinking about that, by the way, if you were listening to the ad, maybe you weren't. I just like tuned it out. If this feels like if you're starting to think, oh my gosh, I might be stopping myself from living, I might be an overthinker. If you've been listening, that I have a free 1 hour alignment activation with me. And yes, it is kind of crazy that I'm giving away this for free, but it just feels like the right thing to have an hour with someone to help them pull out from the forest of their life so that they can see. When you're down in the weeds of it, you can't really see. So it's like, let's pull out a little bit. Let's get a high level view. So we spend an hour, we get a high level view of where you are in life and any patterns. And then I just share that with you, right? So if you are interested in that, head over to the website, heatherstewart.coach. And I believe you go to it's in a whole bunch of places on the website, but the fastest way is to click in the upper right where it says talk with me. I think it says talk with me. click the one where you get to talk with me and book an alignment activation. I mean, it doesn't cost you anything and you might get some amazing wisdom. So we're thinking is important. 100% important. We're talking about knowing something versus living it, and thinking is important, but we want to move into living. So we're going to do some practical steps here. So notice where you sit on the sidelines. So maybe if you hear yourself, I just need to be more ready. Or once I figure out my life purpose, then I will know what to do, right? Or when things calm down, then I will do. And you need to make sure you catch yourself in those sentences and those thoughts so that you stop delaying your life. And I can remember this was a few years ago. I was taking a online course with this woman, and I mean, I'm a course junkie. I'm a total course junkie. So I'll never stop taking courses, but I like to take action as well. And this woman, there was this quote on her in the course material. It was like, if you're not embarrassed by your first attempts, then you waited too long to start. You might have heard me say that before. It's such a good quote. It's like something that should be hanging on your wall or somewhere. Because if I think now, I was just talking to Dana before the show started. This podcast, I've been podcasting for almost 6 years now. If I go back and watch those first ones, oh my gosh, they're crazy. But that if I hadn't done it and practiced it, I knew everything about podcasting. But if I didn't practice and experience what it was to speak, then I wouldn't be where I am today. And I've still got more to go on. So if you catch yourself with these sideline sentences that you're saying to yourself, what would it look like if you stepped onto the field? So if you're planning maybe a business idea or you have this great idea, tell one person, just one person. It's not too scary. If you want to connect more with someone, just send them a text and ask somebody, say, hey, do you want to go get a coffee? It doesn't have to be epic or anything. If you feel like you want to be more creative or you want to explore this thing that you like doing, schedule in your calendar 30 minutes sometime this week. And if you had fun, schedule another one, right? And then after you take that step of whatever it is that you get off this sideline and just maybe step one foot onto the field, after you experience it, just think, what did you learn about yourself? Was there something that surprised you? Did something feel alive? Did you feel anything? You don't want to be you don't want to be in this place where there's nothing bad or nothing good happening. When you're on the sidelines, it's not bad or good. You're just coasting, waiting for life to start. Don't wait for your life to start. Okay, listen, but you're not behind. We're coming up to the end of the show. I want you to know before I get out of here, you are not behind. You're not missing your life. You just might be not fully engaged in it. You might be just standing slightly to the side. And your life doesn't get bigger because you think harder. Your life gets bigger because you start to participate in your life, right? So, my friend, take one strong, brave, imperfect step this week and email me if you want. Tell me what your strong, perfectly imperfect step is that you decided to do, even if you think it was stupid, because nothing is stupid. It's like I sent a text message to my friend to see if she wanted coffee, or the lady who works out next to me at the gym, after our workout, I said, hey, do you want to get a coffee? As grown-ups, that's a scary thing, which is hilarious. If you say it out loud, you're like, why is that so scary? Why is that so scary? Because we think they're not going to like us, or maybe we're afraid they're going to be a weirdo. If they're a weirdo, don't go out for coffee with them again, right? So I just really invite you to look at your life and where you're not fully engaging with it, where you're not allowing yourself that full, intense joy that is the flip side of the intense not joy. And whichever one happens, understanding that neither of them is going to last forever. And that's okay, because it is going to feed your experience and make your life richer so that you can be even more engaged with the next thing that happens, right? Lessons. We are here for lessons, but not all of it is thinking. Sometimes you got to get out of the lab, and I think about gym class because that was a very active class. Get out of the science lab, go to the gym class, and move your body. My friends, have a fabulous week. I will see you next week.
Thank you for tuning into Illuminate Your Worth. Heather Stewart will be back next week to help you shift your mindset, reclaim your joy, and build a life that fits you. Catch the next episode on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com, Wednesdays at 1 p.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. Central, 11 a.m. Mountain, and 10 a.m. Pacific. Until then, take one inspired step today and keep shining.